I'm excited for this episode of Entrepreneurs in Quarantine. Makes me laugh every time, my high production. Because accountants have never been cooler, as we just talked about before I pressed the record button. And you are like the Miles Davis of accounting. That's how cool you are.
Yeah.
Sara, tell us what makes you so cool? Who are you, and where do you work?
So my name is Sara Halickman, and I'm a CPA. I'm a manager in the accounting and assurance department at FL Fuller Landau. We're a mid-sized accounting firm in Montreal. So my day-to-day is everything from financial statements, assurance engagements, tax returns, trusts, personal tax, planning, you name it.
So that was your previous job. Your new job is crisis manager, cash flow cruncher, because obviously anyone ever wants to talk about now is COVID and how to adapt and how to do accounting in the new age. So obviously let's start with some of the basics, because you're getting the same questions that I'm getting, and people think that I can answer their cash flow questions, but I can't. So could you maybe walk us through, what is a typical conversation like for you today? Somebody calls you, they're nervous, they don't know what to do. I don't have enough money to pay rent, suppliers, my staff, and I can't even pay myself a salary. What do you then tell them?
So in broad strokes, and like we talked about before, everything has been changing daily, we're trying to stay on top of it as much as possible. Basically, so there are a few main things that are, I guess, the hottest topics we could talk about. The CERB is really the Canada Emergency Response Benefit is a really big deal right now, especially because it's giving benefits to people who are maybe temporarily unemployed or who have been furloughed. And they're, it's somebody who may not have qualified for employment insurance before, somebody who's self-employed can still qualify for the CERB. So the applications for that opened this week. So slowly but surely, everybody's being prompted to apply for that if they're eligible. And that is $2,000 a month from the federal government. It's supposed to alleviate the pressure on the EI system and kind of streamline everything.
Sure.
So that's on the individual side, and that's what we're telling our clients who have either been laid off or are laying off their people or don't know what's out there.
Sure.
The other biggest question we get has to do with the salary subsidies. So originally a program for a 10% subsidy was announced. That was later changed to a subsidy for 75%. Obviously, both are subject to thresholds and different amounts. And now they're saying if you don't qualify for the 75% subsidy, because the criteria is that your year-over-year sales from the month, so for example, March or April or May 2020 versus 2019 have to have decreased by 30%. If you don't meet that, then you may still be eligible for the 10%. And obviously there are specific numbers and ways to qualify. So that's something that's supposed to, A, help employers pay their people, and B, help employers, have employers consider maybe keeping employees on that they were considering having to lay off. The other interesting program that we just got wind of today is that there is going to be Quebec has announced kind of an on-the-job training credit for employers to take this time that's, maybe a little bit quieter, maybe they have some downtime to train employees and have part of that subsidized as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Why not use the downtime while people are in, kind of Zoom video mode and actually train them develop skills? I think that's such a great initiative and a great package. So those are the top three programs that you're seeing. Now, you give the client this information, and they show you their books that are now all in red, and they have to prioritize who to pay and what to do next. And right now, there are funds available that you can take through small business loans backed by the BDC and Investissement Québec. Do you encourage small businesses that some of them are debt free? Do you encourage them to go and get access to the money because you don't know what's next? What are you telling them from an accounting perspective?
From an accounting perspective, we're at the point where, I think if you're eligible to get some of these funds and you're in need of these funds, we would, for sure the suggestion is to go after them. A lot of it can be done through a lot of the bankers are kind of handling this type of thing and being the liaison. We also have contacts at Investi Small Quebec and the BDC who are helping facilitate that. A lot of it comes down to cash flow and what things look like. And because so much is uncertain, I mean, definitely if, businesses can get a little bit of a boost through these initiatives, then we would definitely suggest it.
So, Sarah, there's a lot of, I've been having a lot of these little interviews, and a lot of people, they're like in the front row watching a movie, waiting to see who's going to fail and who's going to succeed. Ben Cohen from Triad Group called this the ultimate entrepreneur acid test to see who's going to make it. Because people that were on razor thin line between succeeding and failing or faking it and making it are now going to be wiped off the map. What can you tell us about your clients and the ones that are likely to succeed and the ones that aren't? Is it because they have cash in the bank? Is it because they moved faster than others? What are some of the tendencies that you're noticing between companies that are likely to weather the storm?
I think a lot of it comes down to management and accountability by the owners. I mean, we deal with a lot of small owner-managed businesses, and the ones who tend to be really successful are the ones that are really passionate about their business and are willing to, not take a salary in times like this and to sacrifice for their employees. I mean, even at FL, we're a small business ourselves, and I think having leadership that's willing to support their team in times of need and really act as a team and not act for themselves, I think those are the businesses that are really going to succeed. Those are going to be the businesses that have employees that are happy to come back for them when the time comes if they've been laid off. Happy to advocate for them and do what they can in the meantime. So
that's amazing. I think it's you nailed it, talking about short-term sacrifice, for the greater good, and the ones that are willing to be more vulnerable in a time when people almost expect it of people in leadership, people with larger salaries, and people who are otherwise more entitled or privileged.
Yeah.
So that's great advice. In terms of right now, how do you, and I know that we spoke about FL is already kind of virtualized. You guys have work at home policies, and you have all the tools in place.
Yeah.
But how do you think this will now change business? Once and for all, do you think that people are going to be tighter on cash flows, save more for rainy days? Or do you think people are too short-sighted and that in 3 months we're going to go back to our old habits? Or do you think that this will have the mark? And what do you think we need to do now to continue some of the positive things that are coming out of this?
I think honestly, things are going to be changed forever. I mean, to what degree, I don't know. But, we have clients, and I speak with friends and contacts who, have been a little less willing to go towards this remote work and telework and flexible schedules and things like that. And now they've kind of been thrown into this position where they have no choice but to embrace it because it's the only way the work is getting done. And I think once you kind of open that Pandora's box of the working from home and the flexible work schedules, it's going to be really hard to take that back, especially, if at the end of this, the businesses succeed and the companies are still standing. How can an employer say like, oh, well, it doesn't work for us if it worked, right?
I love that. What's one thing that has surprised you or appalled you in all of this? Do you have more or less faith in humanity?
I would say I have more. I think people have been really respectful and really kind in like 98% of the interactions I've had recently. I think a lot of people are under a lot of stress, and this really brings out the worst in people. I also manage a team of, I guess you could call millennials or Gen, whatever you want to call them, people under 30. And it's amazing to see how different the interactions are with that group versus my, let's say, older clients or colleagues who are not of that generation, who are much more willing to pick up the phone, much more willing to just jump on a call versus, a lot of emails back and forth. So I think that's been really interesting to see the difference and to kind of force people out of their comfort zones that way.
I love it. I love that point. I'm just going to pick up on the last point. Pick up the phone and making phone calls. Such an understated, simple fact.
Yes.
Because now more than ever, things get lost in translation in emails. The tone doesn't come out properly. It
Yeah.
seems impersonal, and unless you pick up the phone, that seems to be the ultimate, the ultimate game changer. As simple as
Yeah.
it is, it's like, why would I call him? I could just send him a text, or I
Right.
can send him a video, message.
Right.
But that's very interesting that you picked up on that being the differentiator between millennials and boomers, for example.
Yeah, for sure.
So I love that. Are you a pick up the phone kind of girl, or are you still?
Now I am. Now I am. It's much more efficient. You know what? I've said it all week. Like, I've never spent so much time in my life on the phone. Like,
Yeah, I know. This is what it is.
yeah.
I know that, your husband just got back from my good friend Jordan just got back from the store and got attacked because he picked up the last container of pineapple. So I hope he recovers from that attack.
Yeah. As long as he washes off that container, we're all good. No.
Poor guy. Sarah, thanks for taking some time out. I'll let you get back on the phone to hook up with clients, and I appreciate it. I'm gonna put your credentials in here so that people can get in touch with you, ask you questions.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
Fuller has a COVID emergency task team. They're a great team. You guys are really tight.
Yeah.
I love spending time with your team, and we have a lot of confidence in what you guys do. So I'm gonna make sure that you guys are linked up. Speak to Sarah and her team for anything that's going on, and I guess I'll catch you when things are a little bit more personal.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Oh, hold on. My outro. I almost forgot my outro. Entrepreneurs in quarantine.
There you go. Bye.